G'day punters, welcome to our Everest edition of All In. I'm joined by an informed Dean Watling. Dino, how are you?
Good, Gano. Yourself, mate?
And I'm doing really well. Mate, showers about in Sydney at the moment. Put it out on Twitter not so long ago, copped an absolute hammering from all the people. Mate, won't make a difference. We're looking at about 30 to 40 mils of rain, mate. What do you reckon the track's going to play like? Rail's going to be in a true. Give us your early thoughts on the track.
Yeah, I'll start with the weather. We were on a good 3 on Saturday, so it's probably good to note we've had around 6 to 7 mil today. So if anything, that's probably brought it back into that good 4 range. So not too much damage. And then I think there'll be plenty of watch on that Allison Road traffic cam this week to see how much rain ran with cops.
Mumsy's already put that one up, mate.
Exactly. Not a bad plug to get a bit of advertisement up on that. But I think he'll play well. Back to the true, played outstanding on Saturday. You could win from dead set anywhere, and I think that's the way we're going to play it on Saturday as well. I'm doing for a good to a soft. I don't think we'll reach heavy this time of the year. It's not dewy in the mornings. It's heating up. There is rain forecast, but it depends if we get it or not. So early on, at the minute, I'm doing it for around that good to soft range, mate.
Good stuff, mate. Yeah, I'm banking on probably a soft 5, potentially soft 6. See how we go. That rain could come in droves, but we'll see what happens there. Mate, look, let's get straight into the Everest. We'll start in market order. The odds are from TAB. We have Classic Legend $4. Dino, mate, give us your thoughts on Classic Legend.
Yeah, Classic Legend takes the Bond host spot. Kieran McAvoy in the saddle. He's the defending champ. Different prep this time in. He's come back from Hong Kong after that bleed. So he's had the 3 trials. He's tackling it first up, which is less than ideal. But the last 2 trials have been fantastic. And Kieran McAvoy said he's back. So that's 2 big ticks for mine. He's probably the only horse in the race that has the tank and the V8 engine where he can absorb all that pressure up front by those front runners such as Nature Strip. They can set a crazy tempo. He can sit close enough to them to be in a winning position at that 4 to the 600 meter mark, and he can go bang. So he's the front runner still for mine. I think the market might have him wrong though. I think he'll start second favorite and they'll come for Nature Strip. But that's my thoughts on Classic Legends. Can you add anything?
Yeah, mate, I can't really add much more other than I don't think it'll start favorite. So just based purely off the prep, I don't think the pros are going to be wanting a bar of that first up. Mate, let's move on to Nature Strip. We're at the $5. What are your thoughts there, mate?
I think he's in career best form. He had a little bit of an off spring last year, but I think he's in cracking form at the minute. He was brilliant first up in the Concorde. He was then brave second up in the shorts, and now he peaks third up. We know he gets better with his prep. He's 5 from 7 third up, and he's 6 from 9 on that rain-affected ground. So if the rain does come, I think for him and Classic Legend, that's not an issue at all. I think the biggest query for mine with him is the rail in the true. It tends to favour those off pace and closing on the outside lane. So he's going to have to do it from up front, and that's my slight query. But I think he deserves to be favourite, and I'm expecting come Wednesday or come Saturday morning, he'll be a firm favourite for this race, mate.
Yeah, I agree with you there, mate. I think he'll be a firm favourite, and if he draws anything outside barrier 5, 6, probably call it outside barrier 6 ideally, we'll start favourite. Mate, Musk Crusader, one of your favourite horses. Give us your thoughts on it.
Yeah, Musk Crusader for the Max Whitby and the Neil Werrett slot. Tommy Berry in the saddle rides his horse brilliantly. He's got this bad knack at the minute of missing the kick and getting way too far back. He won't be able to afford to do that in this big race. He has an electric turn of speed and strong closing sectionals that can win a race like this. It's whether or not he's in a winning position at that 6 to that 400 meter section. I think that's the difference between him and a Classic Legend. Musk Crusader is coming up for air off that extremely high pressure race where, Musk Crusader is coming up for air. Where Classic Legend just rides that speed. Like I said, railing the true suits him, and he's another who can handle that good to soft rain. So he's got to be a hope, but it's just how far he is off them in the straight.
Yeah, I agree, mate. And I think the more rain they get, the wider they're going to want to go. So more rain probably for mine will be in Musk Crusader's favour. Obviously, more rain looking for that soft 6 sort of range as opposed to a good 4. Mate, Eduardo, $8. Thoughts on it?
Eduardo for the star on the Arrowfield slot. Nash in the saddle. He's an underrated horse. I think he's probably one of the most underrated sprinters in the land. He consistently wins at big odds, and he's got a nice record against Nature Strip. The big query, and that's the big talking about this horse, about this big talking point, about this horse, is the 1,200 meters. Can he run a strong 1,200 out? I think he gets his chance come Saturday. He's never really tackled it this soon in his prep. He was outstanding there first up. Like I said, he's another who's 5 from 6 on the soft. So if that rain comes, it's a massive tick for his. And if he can, he's probably a little bit different to Nature Strip, where he can take a sit just in behind if he needs and close off. So I think he's an underrated horse. Nash, we know, is in outstanding form at the minute. So I'm very wary of Eduardo.
Yeah, not for me, but I think he'll get swamped late, but he'll probably look good at the 200. But I think it'd be coming up for around the 11:50 mark. Mate, we move on to G-Tra. Now let me just chime in here. It was luckless last start, but trial wasn't much chop. Talk to me about the trial.
Yeah, for the English slot, Collet in the saddle. Very concerning that last trial. Like you said, was brilliant first up. Probably should have won that race with even luck. But yeah, I was expecting a lot more. And I think if you're the slot owners and you're backing this horse in Everest, you would have loved to see him savage that line in the tick over trial. Has me scratching my head, not too sure what to do, and I purely can't back him off that. I think his best is obviously good enough. He ran third in this race last year, then bolted in the Yes, Yes, Yes stakes 2 weeks later. But yeah, that trial's a massive, massive concern for mine, mate.
Absolutely, mate. We move on to Home Affairs, $13. Likely to sit on pace, you think there, mate?
Yeah, on pace for sure. Dynamic first up, sustained speed, takes a Coolmore slot, bossy in the saddle. Don't think they'll be able to adopt the same tactics as they did first up at Rose Hill. I think he'll take a sit in behind this speed. I think he's the one that you probably want a drier track, drier the better for him. I think soft five's no concern, but further we get out, I think that diminishes his chances. He can run well, but I think the 3-year-old's a little bit off these top line sprinters this year.
Yep, fair enough, mate. And unconfirmed, but let's just say that Paul does get the start, mate. Just give us a quick thought. It's going to be a quick backup if it goes around. Third up's pretty ideal. Just to give us, obviously won the kindergarten on a soft 7, I think it was as well. So, you know, is it something that if it gets a start, would you be looking more into that horse as a betting prospect, or are you just not interested in the 3-year-old?
I really like this horse, and you can draw a line through Home Affairs as well, coming through that heritage run. He's probably the one out of the two that I would prefer, can just sit off that pace and close off down those outside lanes in a high pressure race. The quick backup's a query. Like you said, I don't think the track conditions matter too much. I think it's just the quick backup as a 3-year-old, lightly raced. Can he handle that tough week of 2 big races? I'm not sure if they'll go with Palili. I think they might lean the way of trekking, but who knows? We'll find out soon.
Sure thing, mate. Move on to Lost and Running, $15. There's not much you can really say about this one. In my notes, I'd say would need to improve out of sight to run top 5, mate. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with that. TAB have the slot Bowman in the saddle. I think the boom was probably a little bit too high on him this prep. I generally think he's a good horse. I think he might just be another prep away. I think a couple of setbacks, that's not what you want into a big grand final like this. You want to have a horse who's had a faultless prep leading in, and he's had quite the opposite. So I'm happy to look around him.
Yeah, absolutely. They whoever sold that into TAB's done an amazing job. Libertini, $21, produces its best first up. It's going to be fresh. Give us your thoughts, mate.
Takes Aqua slot. She's elite first up horse. We saw that last year in the shorts when bolting in and putting a gap on the eventual Everest winner in Kosciuszko Legend. Kept fresh and going into this fresh, that's the right setup. 5 from 8 on a dry track, that's the biggest point. I think if it's in the wet range, she can't win, needs it dry, and I think that's a detrimental factor. Her trial's been okay. I think she did trial better last year. She's hard to get a guide on with the Cummings trials, but she has to go in the question. If we're looking at a good 4, good 3 come Saturday, you can't rule her out. Soft track, I'm happy to pen her.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd happy to pen her, full stop. One that really does interest me, and I think it's, you know, maybe a little bit overs at the moment, is the Inferno, only a little bit, but just brings a different form line. The Inferno won the Group 2 McEwen on a soft 6. So if it gets, if it's the 6.5, it'll handle that. Let's run up to 1,600 meters in Singapore, which I think is something to take note of. Could definitely run the top 3 for mine, and I don't think anyone's really talking about it, mate. Keen, or have I lost the plot?
No, it's definitely flying under the radar. James Harron Bloodstock takes the horse for their slot. And like you said, you made a very good point with the Singapore form. They run their races a lot different over there. They're high pressure, their speed's on. There's none of this slow sectional sit and sprint. So a high pressure 1,200 meters at Randwick is going to suit this horse down to the ground. You referenced the McEwen win on a soft 6. So if we get that wet range, that's no issue at all. He's another one who's probably going to sit in that perfect spot just off the speed, off these very speedy Nature Strip Eduardo, Home Affairs, who are going to set at this lovely tempo. He's 8 from 11 on a good track. So either way, I think he's suited here. And like you said, I think he's probably the one that's over the odds at the minute and forgotten about coming up from that Melbourne form. I think I'm very, very wary of this horse.
Yeah, no worries, mate. Well, Munsey will put a line through that one because he doesn't like Melbourne form, but interesting to see how that goes. And, mate, obviously we've got a spot still up for grabs here, I think, but last in the horses confirmed, we have Wild Roll at $34. I think if there's anything worse than a soft 5, you can dead set just put a pen through that, mate. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, year-long investments have the slot, and they've had that in a get-out clause if it is a wet track. That is the clause that they can get rid of this horse and look for another horse if it is wet. And in punting relations, I think that's exactly the way we treat him. If it's a dry track, I still think he's a couple of lengths off in, but that's his best chance. I think a wet track, he's got absolutely no hope here. But in my honest, I think he's 1 to 2 lengths off the best here for sure.
Oh, without a doubt. Mates, all right, give us your early play.
I would be I got Kosciuszko Legend on top, but at the odds, I think he's going to drift to a very nice price prior to kickoff on the Saturday. I think, like you mentioned before, the computers, and there's a couple of just little knocks with this prep leading. So I think wait for him, and I'm going to back him Saturday. And the one that I want to back early and have a little play on is the Inferno. We mentioned before, underrated horse coming up under the radar. I think he can run a big race. But for mine, wait till Saturday and back Kosciuszko Legend.
Nice, buddy. Yeah, I'll probably with you. I'll have something small on the Inferno each way. Probably more of a 1x4 play there. Mate, let's move on to the Cosy. I've got 2 horses that I've come up with that I've actually backed. I'm pretty keen on, mate. So why don't you go first, and then I'll come over the top, mate, to finish off. The $1.2 million they're racing for. It's an amazing race, amazing event. PVL has done a great job getting it together. Great spectacle for everyone, and just great to get all the trainers in and about, mate, and owners, of course. Talk me through it, mate. What do you like for the race?
Yeah, like you said, it's an outstanding concept, and it gives those country trainers the connections and everything like that. A big day up in the lights at Randwick. I think it's an outstanding initiative, and it's a cracking race. We saw It's Me come from nowhere last year. The top chances, it's an interesting race this year. I don't think there's any standout horse. Handle the Truth leads the market. I think he's going absolutely outstanding. He's coming through those Group 1 form lines with your TAB Everest horses, and he was very good last start, closed off in that inferior ground with Musk Crusader that we saw at Randwick. We've seen plenty of winners coming out of that section of the track, so he's definitely one that's got to go in. A new horse on the scene, Edit, absolutely bolted in first up, and has a couple of big ticks come race day, gets the blinkers back on. Big track, high pressure race. His horse has enormous stride. I think he'll be charging late. Arcado, Terry Robinson, Tommy Berry combination, fires fresh, and he's a horse who can handle the wet. So he's got to go into your numbers. And then you look past that, and you've had Front Page, who comes through a race that won by Lombardo, who's since won again. Spiranak bolted in the Panorama. And then I think you got the X Factor in the Mitchell B horse in Sunrise Ruby. But for mine, mate, I'm very keen to look at this horse, Australian Bloodstock horse, Edit. I think he's on the rise. He's got some massive ticks coming his way. And I think the high pressure 1,200 meters at Randwick, where he can sit off and go whooshka, I think that suits him to the ground. But what are you keen on, mate? I know you got 2 nice plays early in this. What do you like?
Edit, very keen on Edit. Was sneaky enough to just, as it crossed the line, just chime in around the It's $8, $8 or $9 as it costs a line over at Tamworth. It's got plenty of improvement to come. So you place your bets, and then you hear the jockey talk about how good the horse is going. And then you hear the trainer say, "Oh, it's got 4 to 5 more lengths." The thinkers go on. You're just like, "How good is this? Get me to that day." So have that. Obviously, I'd really love to see a middle barrier there. That'll be the cream on top there. And I think Sunrise Ruby is a runner that probably just is lightly raced, has a lot of upside. I have no doubt it's going to go to a new level on Saturday. Is that level going to be good enough? I can't tell you. I guess we'll find out. But around the $15, you could do worse things and have a bet on that. So they're the two for me. There's no knock on any of the other runners, by the way. But they're the two that I think that probably have the most upside going into the race. And could definitely go on to bigger and better things as well. So keen to see how that plays out. Mate, we're going to move on to the Caulfield Cup. I've got a quick yes or no for you there. Incentivise $2 if you can find it, yes or no?
Yes, as a horse, $2. No, I think you'll get better than $2 come race day. I think it's a little bit more open. That's not a yes/no answer, but that's my opinion.
Outstanding. So yes, you think you'll win, but you're not going to take $2 because you reckon you'll get more come start time. All right, mate. So we both do a stack load of Sydney form. Let's just quickly touch on a couple of those chances that head on down there. Montefilia, $15. She's Ideal around $34, and Entente at $51. Now I think Montefilia probably meets Entente a little bit better at the weights, a couple of kilos better at the weights. And Entente's maybe not quite in the field yet, but won't be far off it. I think there's about 6 horses coming out there. I saw Trav Noonan suggested it might have been 18th, which would get it a start. I had it 19th on my bit of paper here, but Trav probably knows far more than I do. Those 3 horses, mate, are they a place chance or potential each way chance in your eyes?
I think Montefilia is for sure. I think the horse is absolutely airborne. The only concern for mine is that strongly run 2,400 metre race. Bowman mentioned last start in the Metrop that she was at the end of a tether late in that race, but you're getting $17 and $4.80. I think the horse is in career best form. We saw that with the trials and we saw that last start. So I could definitely entertain her on an each way basis. I think she can definitely run top 3 in this race with a nice soft run off the pace and closing off down those outside lanes. I think she's a huge chance for mine.
Yeah, mate. I'm a bit sick for the Waterhouse Bot stable anyway, so I know this probably meets Montefilia a couple kilos worse. But you know what you're going to get, right? It's going to be in the top 4, $51. I won't be bothered probably backing at the win, but I'll back it at $12 a place. It's going to get its chance. It's kind of running at 2,400 pretty well. I was a bit surprised. It's prior and then did it right in the Metrop. So if I was to back one of those Sydney horses, that would be it, the place. Dino, tomorrow we're going to cover all of the all-in markets coming up, mate. So that's going to be pretty exciting. There's some huge racing ahead, mate. Have you got your eye on anything? Is there anything you're keen on backing, or should we just hold on until tomorrow?
I think we'll hold on until tomorrow. We've got some big races. We've got the Sydney Stakes, the Craven Plague, the St. Ledger. There's plenty of racing in Sydney as well as down in Melbourne. So huge show tomorrow night, and I think we'll save it for then.
Awesome, mate. All right, just a quick shout out to a couple of legends that chimed in on Twitter. Tony Bear, his tips. He has got Classic Legend, Sunrise, Ruby, and Delphi. So there's his 3 tips for the big majors. Beso's chimed in with G-Chart, Front Page, and Incentivise. And Cody Lane, who does some of our free best bet work, he's got Musk Crusader, said he's been in the corner for a while, Arcado, and Explosive Jack. He said Colette, but I don't think it's going around there, mate. And then Big Damo DeGuara's chimed on, my sidekick. He said he's hearing Classic Legend is building nicely to the grand final. So put an absolute pen job through that, Dino. Can't win. Mate, thank you so much for your time. We'll be back tomorrow. Punters, sure to chime in, check it out. Make sure you're subscribing to our channels. Check out Dean's page, check out our page. And if you want to give us a spray, keep doing it. I love it. It's hilarious. If you want to get around us and give us a positive comment, give it a shot as well. Thanks, Dean. Thanks for your time, mate. We'll see everyone tomorrow.
Cheers, mate. See you then.